The story of Shalamar isn't just about disco hits, dazzling dance moves, and chart-topping success. It's also one of heartbreak, betrayal, and tragedy. From the very start, this iconic group's journey was anything but smooth. Even before their official breakup, members faced shocking personal hardships, accusations of emotional and physical abuse, and tensions over creative control. So what really happened to the members of Shalamar? Where are they now in 2025? And how did this legendary group's story turn so tragic? Stay tuned as we uncover the shocking truth behind Shalamar. Then and now. Shalamar. The making of. Shalamar was one of the most popular American music groups of the late 1970s, but its origins were anything but ordinary. The group was created in 1977 by Dick Griffey and Don Cornelius, the legendary host and creator of Soul Train. Cornelius once said with his signature charm, "It's all going to be a stone gas, honey." I'm Don Cornelius, and as always, in love. Originally, Shalamar wasn't meant to be a real group. It started as a studio project focused on disco-style dance music. Their first single, Uptown Festival, was recorded using session singers. But when the song became a hit, Griffey and Cornelius knew they had something special. They decided to turn Shalamar into a real performing group. The original lineup featured singer Gary Mumford, but the group really came to life when two dancers from Soul Train, Jody Watley and Jeffrey Daniel, were added. Both were more than just skilled performers. They were stars on the dance floor. Their moves captivated audiences, and Shalamar quickly became known for more than just music. Their fashion, style, and choreography influenced young fans everywhere, even popularizing body popping in the UK. The group's image was fresh, cool, and magnetic. As Shalamar's fame grew, Gary Mumford left and was replaced by Gerald Brown. Gerald helped the group score another hit with Take That to the Bank from their second album, Disco Gardens. But tensions behind the scenes started to mount. Brown felt underpaid and unfairly treated by the label, Solar Records, and he eventually departed. That's when Howard Hewitt joined as the new male lead. This lineup, Howard, Jody, and Jeffrey, would become the most iconic version of Shalamar. With producer Leon Silvers III, they crafted a string of hit songs, including 1979's The Second Time Around. Howard's smooth vocals, Jody's energy, and Jeffrey's dazzling dance moves created a perfect mix that fans adored. Shalamar became a global sensation, selling millions of records, touring the world, and cementing their place as icons of music, dance, and style. Creative differences and internal group tensions. Behind the glitz and success of Shalamar, things were far from perfect. By 1983, cracks had begun to show, and the first major blow came when Jody Watley made a difficult decision. She chose to leave the group. Fans were shocked. Shalamar was at the height of its popularity, with chart-topping hits and a devoted following, but Jody was no longer happy. She wanted more control over her music. The group had been moving in a direction she didn't agree with, and she felt restricted creatively. While she had been writing songs for years, only 2 of her compositions had been used in 8 years. Most of her ideas went unheard, and she longed to explore new sounds and express herself as a lead vocalist rather than staying in the background while Howard Hewitt dominated the spotlight. The situation was made worse by the predictability of their production team. Shalamar always worked with the same producer and writers, and over time, the process felt stagnant to Jody. Her talent and ambition were being stifled, leaving her frustrated and unappreciated. Tensions escalated further when shady dealings began behind the scenes. Howard Hewitt was given preferential treatment by the label, receiving more lead vocals and attention. Dick Griffey, the owner of their record label, reportedly gave Howard a $1 million deal without informing Jody or Jeffrey Daniel. They later learned of it through rumors, and the secrecy only deepened the rift within the group. Adding to the strain, Jody discovered through her friend Jermaine Stewart, who sang backup on tours, that Howard was performing shows under the Shalamar name without including her or Jeffrey. To Jody, this felt like a betrayal, leaving her and Jeffrey on the sidelines while the group's public image continued to shine. Money issues compounded the problems. None of the members were being paid fairly. Royalties were missing, and they often felt cheated despite working tirelessly. According to Griffey, some tension was natural in a group, but for Jody, financial injustice was a key reason Shalamar began to unravel. Personal struggles also played a role. Jody's relationship with Jeffrey Daniel, though appearing sweet to the public, was troubled in private. She later revealed that Jeffrey was abusive, verbally and physically, which added emotional weight to an already difficult situation. While this wasn't the reason she left the group, it intensified the stress and heartbreak she experienced while performing alongside him. The tension spilled over into the professional space as well. During shows, Jody and Jeffrey would sometimes clash mid-performance, hitting and kicking each other while dancing, and continuing their fights backstage afterward. Matters grew even more complicated when Jeffrey started dating, and eventually married, singer Stephanie Mills. Jody felt humiliated, believing that some of his behavior was intentionally provocative. Jody later reflected on this period as one of chaos, heartbreak, and drama, a terrible time full of personal and professional struggles. Yet she also recognized it as a period of growth. Years later, she encountered Stephanie Mills at a party. Initially unsure who had called her nickname, Waddles, Jody turned to find Stephanie. They hugged, reminisced about their lives and children, and found common ground. It was a moment that reminded her of how time can heal wounds. The final straw, however, came during the promotion of Shalamar's 1983 album, The Look, as they prepared to film the music video for Dead Giveaway. By then, the fractures within the group were too deep to ignore. Jody Watley's departure, breaking free from Shalamar. By 1983, the tension within Shalamar had reached a breaking point. The final straw came during the filming of the music video for Dead Giveaway. Jody Watley, exhausted by the constant creative clashes and the personal strains with Howard Hewitt, could hardly bear to be on set. She disliked the environment so much that she refused to appear in most of the video herself, relying on a body double for many of the scenes. She only stepped in for shots that featured the entire group together, a silent protest against the way things had deteriorated. Once filming wrapped, Jody made a life-changing decision. She was done with Shalamar. She quit the group for good. Friends, colleagues, and even advisors warned her against leaving. They cautioned that it was a risky move. She would have to pay back Dick Griffey for breaking her contract, and leaving meant forfeiting potential earnings from a solo album that hadn't even been released yet. But Jody knew in her heart that stepping away was the right choice. She was done compromising her creativity and her happiness for a group that no longer reflected her vision. Her instincts proved correct. Jody's solo career quickly soared to heights she had long dreamed of. She became a Grammy Award-winning, multi-platinum selling artist and established herself as a true trailblazer in pop and R&B dance music. Jody shattered the glass ceiling in a male-dominated industry, redefining what it meant for a woman to command both respect and creative authority. Her debut solo album, released in 1987, produced 3 top 10 hits, while her follow-up in 1989 replicated that success. Unlike in Shalamar, Jody had full creative control, co-writing most of the songs herself and shaping her music exactly how she wanted. She finally had the freedom to express her artistry, proving beyond a doubt that her talent was not just a part of a group, it was her own. She didn't need to stay in a situation that stifled her, and she thrived once she stepped out on her own. But even after her departure, Shalamar continued to use her name and image to promote the group. New members appeared in photos and videos alongside her likeness, giving the impression that Jody was still a part of the band. Fans were confused, unsure who was truly in Shalamar anymore. To Jody, this felt deeply unfair. She had left the group, yet her legacy and fame were being used to benefit others without her consent. It was a reminder that leaving Shalamar didn't just involve stepping away from the spotlight, it also meant reclaiming her identity and ensuring that her achievements were hers alone. Impact on solo careers, new beginnings. After Shalamar. After the intense pressures and personal conflicts, it wasn't only Jody Watley who felt it was time to move on. Jeffrey Daniel, too, decided to leave Shalamar, even while their single Dead Giveaway was climbing the charts. The band was unraveling, and it was clear to everyone involved that the magic they once had was fading. Their final performance as a trio captured this moment of quiet disillusionment. On the famed Top of the Pops stage in London, they performed Disappearing Act, a song whose title now felt almost prophetic. Jody took the lead with determination, giving a performance full of energy and emotion. She moved with confidence, owning the stage, as if signaling the start of her next chapter. In contrast, Howard Hewitt seemed disengaged, barely acknowledging the crowd, his expression distant. Jeffrey, known for his electrifying dance moves, spent the performance seated, a startling break from his reputation. Their fatigue and detachment were palpable, yet Jody's drive hinted at her imminent transformation. Once Jody and Jeffrey officially departed, Shalamar's record label scrambled to keep the brand alive. 2 new members, Mickey Free and Elisa Davis, were brought in, while Howard stayed on to continue producing music under the Shalamar name. With this refreshed lineup, the group achieved some success. Their song Dancing in the Sheets gained attention as part of the blockbuster Footloose soundtrack, and other tracks appeared in films like DC Cab. They even earned a Grammy nomination for their contribution to the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. Despite these accomplishments, the group lacked the chemistry and energy that had defined its earlier years. Fans noticed the difference, and gradually, the excitement surrounding Shalamar began to wane. Eventually, Howard Hewitt, too, decided to leave, choosing to pursue his solo career. He released several albums, which, while not reaching the commercial heights of Jody's work, showcased his talent and resilience. He collaborated with renowned artists such as Dionne Warwick on the song Another Chance to Love, earning respect within the soul and R&B community. Though his solo career didn't catapult him to pop superstardom, he maintained a place of honor in the world of soul music. Jeffrey Daniel, meanwhile, returned to the art that had always defined him: dance. His skills, once a highlight of Shalamar's performances, now became legendary behind the scenes. He mentored dancers, choreographed, and even worked directly with Michael Jackson, teaching him the moonwalk and helping shape iconic music videos like Bad and Smooth Criminal. While he didn't chase the spotlight as Jody did, Jeffrey's influence rippled through the music industry, leaving a legacy that would inspire generations of performers. Reformation attempts, pride, regret, and missed chances. Even after Jody Watley and Howard Hewitt had gone their separate ways, the tension between them lingered for years. Their conflicts had never been just professional, they were personal, too. One line from their fallout became infamous over time. During an argument, Howard reportedly told Jody, "You'll never be anything without Shalamar." On the surface, it sounded harsh and dismissive, and for decades, fans debated its meaning. Howard later reflected on that moment and explained that his words were not born of malice, but of hurt and frustration. He had been desperately trying to hold the group together, to make Shalamar work, despite the growing personal and creative differences. When he spoke those words, he was angry and felt powerless. It was a raw, impulsive reaction from someone who had invested so much of himself in the group. In hindsight, Howard admitted, Jody proved him completely wrong. Her solo career soared. Looking for a New Love became an instant hit, establishing her as a Grammy-winning multi-platinum artist and one of the true innovators of R&B and pop dance music. Her success was not just commercial, it was a statement. Every chart-topping single, every sold-out concert, every award was a clear answer to the moment of anger in which Howard had spoken. "She proved me wrong," he said years later. Even decades after the breakup, Howard carried a quiet regret. He wished they could have sat down together, just the three of them, without managers, without label executives, honestly and openly. He believed that perhaps, if they had, some of the hurt could have been healed, and some of the pride set aside. But they were young at the time, ambitious and stubborn, and small fights had ballooned into irreparable divides. They made history together, but the human side of their story, friendship, trust, understanding, was left broken. Howard confessed that he and Jody never had that one-on-one conversation to clear the air. Not once. Even 30 years later, the silence remained. It was a sad reminder of what could have been. Two artists who had started in the same place, sharing the same platform, the same fans, yet letting pride and miscommunication keep them apart. Howard Hewitt's brush with disaster, arrest, betrayal, and redemption. As Howard Hewitt was beginning to carve out a promising solo career in the mid-1980s, life seemed full of opportunity. But in 1986, everything almost came crashing down. Howard was arrested in Miami under shocking circumstances. Police alleged he was involved in selling cocaine, a charge that threatened not only his freedom but also the music career he had worked so hard to build. At the time, Howard had been dating Mari Molina, a woman he considered fun, charming, and trustworthy. They had been together for about 2 years, sharing laughter and companionship. Howard never suspected that Mari was leading a secret life entangled with drugs, a truth that would soon drag him into a nightmare he could never have imagined. Howard later described the ordeal as a profound test of faith. "It was, man. It was like a serious test of my faith, you know, in God, Christ, the Holy Spirit. That's why nobody can tell me nothing," he said, reflecting on the fear and confusion he endured. The official charge against him was conspiracy, a legal term that implicated him in a plan to sell drugs, even though Howard had never touched, handled, or sold any narcotics himself. To him, it was absurd and deeply unfair. The arrest happened while he and Mari were visiting her family in Miami. Mari claimed she needed to return a car to someone, and Howard, trying to be helpful, followed her in her father's car. He later admitted that insisting on going with her was the last time he allowed himself to take such risks. He thought it would be a simple errand followed by lunch, but the moment would change his life forever. As they reached a parking lot, Mari leaned into the car to say something to him. Suddenly, DEA agents rushed in. Howard recalled the terror of that instant. One agent shoved him against the car, gun pressed to his head. Another aimed a weapon at his chest. The shouting was frantic, the situation chaotic. When agents demanded the keys, Howard assumed they meant the car keys, but quickly realized they were referring to blocks of cocaine. Panic surged through him as he realized he was being caught in a web he had never entered. Howard was taken to a holding center, not a traditional jail, but still a place where fear and uncertainty loomed large. On the way, he feared for his life, recalling stories of Miami drug arrests gone horribly wrong. He prayed, clinging to the belief that he had done nothing wrong, caught only by circumstance, trust, and betrayal. The ultimate betrayal came from Mari herself. She pleaded guilty to her crimes and even testified against Howard, claiming he had been involved. But the court saw through her story. Howard faced trial, and after all the stress, fear, and public scrutiny, he was acquitted of all charges. He was found not guilty and finally freed. Although his name was cleared, the experience left a permanent mark on Howard Hewitt. It was a stark lesson in trust, judgment, and resilience. He emerged from the ordeal with a renewed sense of faith and an even stronger commitment to his music, proving that even the darkest moments could not dim the talent and spirit of the man who had already given so much to R&B and soul music. Where are the Shalamar members today in 2025? After Shalamar's peak in the late 70s and early 80s, each member took a different path, carving out their own legacies in music, dance, and life beyond the spotlight. Jody Watley, the trailblazing female voice of Shalamar, Jody Watley left the group in the early 1980s to pursue a solo career, and her decision proved transformative. Her breakout hit, "Looking for a New Love," became a defining anthem of the era, propelling her into pop stardom. She continued to reinvent herself over the decades, blending R&B, dance, and electronic influences, and became a respected figure in the music industry for her innovation and vocal versatility. Offstage, Jody built a fulfilling personal life while maintaining a balance with her career. She has been involved in advocacy for artists' rights and has mentored young performers navigating the music business. Though she declined reunion tours with Shalamar in later years, she occasionally collaborates on special projects and tributes, always mindful of preserving the integrity of her legacy. In 2025, she remains active in music, performing select shows and festivals, and continues to release new music that resonates with both longtime fans and a new generation of listeners. Jeffrey Daniel, known for his mesmerizing dance moves and innovative choreography, Jeffrey Daniel's post-Shalamar life has been devoted almost entirely to dance. After leaving the group, he became a pivotal figure in shaping pop performance art, most notably teaching Michael Jackson the moonwalk and assisting in choreographing some of Jackson's most iconic videos, including Bad and Smooth Criminal. Daniel's influence extended beyond the stage as he worked behind the scenes with artists around the world, refining performance techniques and popularizing street dance styles. Despite not being a household name as a solo performer, his contributions have left a lasting impact on music and dance. Today, Jeffrey continues to teach masterclasses, choreograph for television and live performances, and occasionally appear on nostalgia-focused tours, celebrated as a pioneer of modern dance within pop culture. He leads a relatively private life, focused on family and mentoring, but his legacy is firmly cemented in music history. Delisa Davis and Mickey Free. When Shalamar attempted to carry on after the original members' departures, Delisa Davis and Mickey Free were brought in to fill the gap. Delisa brought soulful vocals and a polished stage presence, contributing to Shalamar's sound during their later recordings and tours. Mickey Free, similarly, provided fresh energy and harmonies that helped the group maintain relevance, particularly with songs tied to major movie soundtracks like Footloose and Beverly Hills Cop. Following their time with Shalamar, both Davis and Free pursued individual projects, though neither reached the same international recognition as the original trio. Delisa Davis continued performing in R&B and soul circuits, occasionally joining tribute shows and collaborations. Mickey Free focused on songwriting and production, working behind the scenes in the music industry, mentoring up-and-coming artists and contributing to various projects in the 90s and 2000s. These days, both remain active in music at a regional level, respected for their professionalism and the contributions they made to Shalamar's mid-career resurgence. Carolyn Griffey, introduced in later Shalamar tours as the new female vocalist, Carolyn Griffey brought a modern sensibility to the group. Her presence revitalized Shalamar's performances for a new generation of fans, and her vocal versatility helped bridge the gap between the original sound and contemporary audiences. As the daughter of Dick Griffey, one of the men behind Shalamar's creation, she carried the family legacy forward with poise. Beyond the stage, Carolyn has remained involved in music management and artist development. She continues to perform with Shalamar at select nostalgia-focused events and has championed the preservation of the group's history, including overseeing certain aspects of branding and rights in the UK and Europe. Today, she balances performing with mentoring emerging talent, sustaining Shalamar's relevance while ensuring the group's legacy endures. Shalamar's rise to fame and lasting legacy. Shalamar was more than just a group. They were a cultural phenomenon, capturing audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. In the United Kingdom, their music quickly climbed the charts, beginning with the lively and infectious 1978 single, Take That to the Bank. Its playful energy and danceable rhythm immediately resonated with listeners, laying the groundwork for a loyal fan base. By 1980, Shalamar was back with another hit, I Owe You One, showcasing their signature blend of pop, disco, and soul, a combination that invited everyone to the dance floor. Their songs were not only easy to move to, but they carried a charm that made the group relatable and fun. The true peak of their UK success came in 1982 with the release of the album Friends. This record became a platinum sensation, propelled by hits like I Can Make You Feel Good, A Night to Remember, There It Is, and the title track, Friends. Radio stations and clubs couldn't get enough, and the group's presence became unavoidable. Shalamar's infectious sound paired with mesmerizing visuals turned them into household names. A key factor in this success was Jeffrey Daniels' groundbreaking dance performances. On a British television appearance on Top of the Pops, Daniel introduced body popping and even executed the moonwalk for the first time ever on UK TV. Audiences were captivated, and his choreography became a talking point across the country. In the United States, Michael Jackson himself noticed Daniel's moves on Soul Train, drawing inspiration that would later shape his own legendary performances. Shalamar's influence was not limited to the UK. In the US, they earned 3 gold albums: Big Fun, 1979, 3 for Love, 1980, and Friends, 1982. Even when the 1983 album The Look leaned into a more modern electronic sound, it still achieved notable success overseas, demonstrating the group's versatility and enduring appeal. Years later, Howard Hewitt and Jeffrey Daniel continued to perform internationally, revisiting their catalog and performing for devoted fans. Around 2 decades ago, they were invited to tour in Asia. Howard reached out to Jod Watley, suggesting she join them to perform the classic hits. Jod politely declined, unwilling to revisit that chapter of her life. Howard initially struggled to understand her decision. After all, Shalamar's music had defined them. It was their legacy. Yet he respected her choice, and he and Jeffrey moved forward with the tour, delighting fans even without Jod's presence. Recognizing the void left by her absence, they later brought in a new female vocalist, Carolyn Griffey, daughter of Dick Griffey, one of Shalamar's original architects. Carolyn infused the group with fresh energy, helping bridge the gap between the original magic and a new generation of fans. With her, Shalamar found renewed vitality, proving that the group could adapt and thrive even as its lineup evolved. Looking back, Howard Hewitt reflected on the past with clarity. He acknowledged the heated words and hard feelings of earlier years, understanding that anger often leads to cruelty, but time softens the edges. He recognized Jod's extraordinary solo career, celebrated Jeffrey's continued artistry, and took pride in the lasting influence of Shalamar. In interviews, he admitted that he still hoped for a moment with Jod to talk, not to reignite old arguments, but to foster understanding and respect for what they had shared. "Life is too short to carry old pain," he said. "What we created together was special. It deserves respect, even if we went in different directions." The complexities of ownership added another chapter to their story. By July 2018, Carrie Lucas and Carolyn Griffey, connected to the group's original founder, claimed rights to the Shalamar name in the UK and 28 European countries. Carolyn attempted to extend her claim to the United States, but Jod Watley contested it in court. Ultimately, the ruling favored Watley, granting her ownership of the Shalamar trademark in the U.S., solidifying her role in protecting the group's legacy. In September 2023, Shalamar was celebrated on the Music Walk of Fame in Camden, London. Howard, Jeffrey, and Carolyn attended to accept a commemorative stone, joined by speeches and video tributes honoring all who had been part of the group. The recognition cemented Shalamar's influence on music, dance, and pop culture. Even in 2024, Shalamar's music retained its power to unite audiences. They performed 6 U.S. shows, including a standout set at the Fool in Love Festival, sharing the stage with legends such as Diana Ross, Lionel Richie, Smokey Robinson, and the Jacksons. As fans, we get to celebrate not just the hits and the choreography, but the resilience, creativity, and personal growth of the people behind the music. Which Shalamar member's journey surprises you the most, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into bands you love.